In the bustling town of Ajakuta, Adebanjo Owolabi was a man whose reputation preceded him. He was a beacon of hope, a philanthropist who single-handedly turned the town into a hub of commerce and prosperity. His name was etched in gold in the hearts of the townspeople, who considered him a savior. Adebanjo's wealth seemed limitless, from his sprawling mansion to his fleet of exotic cars. He was the very picture of success. Yet, despite his grandeur, Adebanjo was humble. He attended every town hall meetings, sponsored weddings, and funded funerals. But as with all legends, whispers circulated. Some said his rise to wealth was too sudden, too steep. A few old men would mutter about strange happenings around his home, but these murmurs were quickly silenced. After all, Adebanjo was untouchable, or so everyone thought. When news of his sudden death spread, the town was thrown into mourning, but no one could have foreseen the darkness his death would uncover. Adebanjo's burial ceremony was said to be the grandest the town had ever seen. Politicians, business moguls, and villagers alike gathered to pay their respects. The mansion was transformed into a sea of black agbada, the mourning colors. The pastor's sermon echoed through the compound as mourners wept openly. Kemi, Adebanjo's wife, sat at the front, her face hidden behind a veil. Beside her were their children, all dressed in white, as custom dictated. But amidst the sobs and prayers, Kemi's heart was heavy with unease. She couldn't shake the strange nightmares that had plagued her since her husband's death. In these dreams, Adebanjo would appear, his face contorted in anguish, whispering words she couldn't understand. As the pastor concluded his sermon, the atmosphere shifted. The air grew thick, and the faint sound of drums echoed in the distance. All eyes turned to the gates of the compound as 7 men entered, their agbadas black with red crimson embroidered. The leader of the group was a tall man. His presence was commanding, his eyes cold and unyielding. The crowd felt silence as the men walked with purpose toward the room where Adebanjo's body was kept. Kemi stood, blocking their paths. "Who are you, and what do you want?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "The leader, we are here to collect what belongs to us," he said cryptically. Before anyone could react, the men pushed past her. Mourners murmured in confusion, some stepping forward to intervene, but the leader raised a hand, and a sudden gust of wind swept through the crowd, silencing everyone. The men entered the room where Adebanjo's body lay in a gold-plated casket. They circled the casket, chanting in a strange language. The leader drew a ceremonial dagger, its blade shimmering unnaturally. "Stop this madness," Kemi screamed, bursting into the room with the pastor and several mourners behind her. The leader ignored her and opened the casket. Gasps filled the room as everyone saw the casket was empty. "Where is the body?" one of the mourners whispered, trembling. The leader's face darkened. "This is not possible," he muttered. "The spirits do not make mistakes." Kemi collapsed to the floor, sobbing. "What is happening? Where is my husband?" Among the mourners was Iya Agba, a blind herbalist known for her wisdom. She stepped forward, her walking stick tapping against the floor. "Fools," she said, her voice laced with disdain. "Adebanjo's body has not been stolen. It has been claimed by the forces he served." The room felt silence. "What do you mean?" Kemi asked, her voice barely audible. Iya Agba turned her sightless eyes toward Kemi. "Your husband was not the man you thought he was. He made a pact with the spirits, an exchange of his soul for wealth and power. Now that he is gone, his debt must be paid in full." Desperate for answers, Kemi led a search of Adebanjo's study, a room he had always kept locked. After hours of searching, they discovered a hidden door behind a bookshelf. The door led to an underground chamber, dark and cold. The walls were covered in glowing symbols, and at the center stood an altar stained with blood. On the altar lay a ledger, its pages filled with names and dates. Kemi's hands trembled as she opened the ledger. To her horror, she saw the names of Adebanjo's closest friends, business rivals, and even some of his employees. Each name was accompanied by a date, the day they had mysteriously died or disappeared. "This cannot be," she whispered. As they read through the ledger, the leader of the cult and his group reappeared, their faces shadowed by the dim light of the chamber. "You have no idea what you have unleashed," the leader said with a sinister smile. "The spirits will not rest until their debt is paid. Just then, the ground beneath the shrine began to shake violently. Symbols on the walls glowed brighter. A low guttural growl echoed through the chamber. Mourners fled in terror, but Kemi and her children were rooted to the spot, paralyzed by fear. The altar split open and from it emerged a shadowy figure. It resembled Adebanjo but was grotesque, with hollow eyes and a twisted smile. "You thought I was perfect," the figure said, its voice echoing with malice, "but perfection comes at a price." The figure turned to Kemi and her children. "Leave this place," it said. "The wealth you enjoy is cost. Stay and you will share my fate." As the figure spoke, the chamber began to collapse. Flames erupted from the ground and the mourners outside screamed in terror. Kemi grabbed her children and fled, leaving the mansion and everything behind. The next morning, the townspeople destroyed Adebanjo's home, vowing never to speak his name again. Adebanjo's story became a cautionary tale in Ajaokuta, a reminder that the pursuit of power and wealth without morality can only lead to ruin. Morals: what you sow, you shall reap. Appearance can deceive, but the truth will always find a way to reveal itself.